I've been out all night and I'm feeling down. I've been out all night and I'm kicking around. My lady, my girl. My lady, my girl, yeah. Baby, baby.
Welcome to the 6th episode of Red Talk for the season. On this week's show, we've got a lot to get through. We're going to talk about the Red Talk Player of the Year. It's a new initiative this season. We're going to talk about how you can get involved in that as well as how it works. The General The Chav make their return again after a week or two off, I think it was. Going to rate the new signings. Also have a look at United and how they fared in the first two games of the season. And we'll talk about the Fantasy Premier League and Red Talk Fantasy Premier League, which you can get involved in as well. And we've got the quiz question this week, which is...
Yeah, what we want to know is who are the statues that are outside Old Trafford, which three men?
Yes, have a think about that one, and we'll come back at the end of the show, and this man here will tell you the answer. United began their championship defence against West Brom and came away with a win, although it wasn't particularly easy, was it, Josh?
No, it wasn't. West Brom, I think we said in the preview to that game they were going to put up a bit of a fight. It's not as easy as what it was on paper, and I think it proved to be the case. Still got the win, but a decent effort from West Brom. I think still a pretty good performance. Maybe the scoreline slightly flatters them, but pretty good stuff.
It was one of those games where you can see it's classic if you don't capitalise on a 1-0 win and make it 2, make it 3, that you can pay later on. And we did pay the price when that goal went in. It was a bit of an error from De Gea, but you're going to get that with a young keeper, and we managed to come away with a win, and that's all that's important, really.
Yeah, it was obviously a few players were rusty. They played well in the pre-season, but the playing in the pre-season isn't playing in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Even the Community Shield, when it gets to the real stuff, and you've got, especially playing away first up, you've got every other game that pretty much had everyone 100% support going for them, except for maybe the Community Shield on the pre-season, that is, and then they go to the Hawthorns, and
yeah, it wasn't really the
welcome back, boys.
It wasn't the start everyone expected, especially the media playing it up ever since that Community Shield match which you mentioned. So, yeah.
But it was highly publicised last season, and that for winning the championship we won so few games away from home. So when we didn't play particularly well, but we still won in that game. It's a vital 3 points to put in the back pocket for later on in the season, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely an important thing to be able to have that ability to win ugly, so to speak, to win those games where you don't play particularly well. I think it was a decent performance of West Brom. Obviously the keeping error let them in a bit. I don't think they had many chances at all apart from that, so still a decent performance, really.
Yeah, I think it's almost a case similar to Stoke. Those games away, like at Stoke City and like at the Hawthorns, they are difficult games, and people don't rate them as such, and that's where you can get caught.
Yeah, and that goal, like a few friends I know don't go for United, believe it or not, I do associate with a couple of them. They were saying a bit lucky with that goal, but it was a good crossing or pass in front of the goals, and it went in for an own goal, but it could have easily been tapped in, and the goal was coming.
As well, if Reid hadn't have deflected it in, Fabio's coming into the back stick anyway to tap it into
much of a muchness in terms of a goal.
Well, it's credit for Young to for getting into that position to pass the cross. Whether it goes in from an own goal or an attacker manages to put it in doesn't really matter. He went round to a couple of players.
And his ability with both feet is important in that. And the commentator was saying in the game that we were watching that that whole game had been, for the majority of the game, had been cutting back onto his right, and the commentator was calling for him to go on his left. And you see, he did it a couple of times before that, but as soon as he did go on the left, it produced a goal, just because they weren't expecting it.
Yeah, he has been criticised for being a bit predictable coming in on his right, but it shows that he obviously has the ability to go down the other way, and
it wasn't like he just threw it. It wasn't like he just threw it on his left and it just went anywhere. It was a good cross to start with. So
no, but it's fine to do one thing the majority of the time, have that element of surprise when you do go the other way.
Hello, my name's Danny, and you're watching Red Talk.
With the season underway again, the Fantasy Premier League is up and going, and the Red Talk Premier League's the best league to join for competitive people to play against, and the league is on the bottom of the screen there. It's also in the info tab if you're watching on YouTube. And Males was the best out of the 5 Red Talkers in last season, but he hasn't started so well. He's in 18th place, I believe, and the 4th only. He's better than me. He's the only person who's better than, so he's not going very well so far. So Josh, your team bottom at Christmas is starting pretty well.
Yeah, started well last season too, so not counting any chickens so far. But I am still logging in to the Fantasy Premier League. 2 weeks in, so that's an achievement in itself.
Yes, especially given how glitchy the website is this year. How are you going, Nicholas?
I'm sitting in 8th, and I'm just use the usual plan for me, just fly under the radar, and then once Christmas comes and Josh is sitting firmly on the bottom, I'll use him as a springboard, and I'll get to the top. So just stay tuned.
And do you think we can write Males off, or is he just doing similar to you?
Miles had a wet dream season last year, so let's be honest, he's not going to go any better.
That
Finished about 2,000 out of 2.8 million or something last year, so he went well, but he's got a bit of work to do already, as do I, but I'm sure he'll be a bit more proud after going so well last year.
Yeah, that website that he goes on to cheat and get his team off, obviously must have been shut down or something over the summer, because he's not started too well, the old Males.
No, now any cheeky recommendations for the people out there? Who's someone you need to have in your team?
Oh, well, I think you should definitely choose an Arsenal defender, and probably go, I don't know.
That Mikel, he's good.
That Mikel, I reckon he's real good. And probably, I don't know, get Gomez from Tottenham. I hear he's playing, and I hear he's getting heaps of points. So, the options are there, and I'm not going to reveal too much because obviously the competition's against me.
You wouldn't have known from the recommendations you're giving out there. That's that league code again, put it on the bottom of the screen. Make sure you join. Got about 40, 45, 50, something around that many people. The competition's fierce. That's why I'm going so badly, and that's my covered. I'm sitting in 21st on 95 points and not going very well at all. But join, especially if you're not very good, because then I'll look better by comparison if there's like 200 people in the league. Hope you're enjoying the episode of Red Talk you're currently watching. Of course they will. We're also on Facebook.
Yeah, we are on facebook.com/Red Talk. So be sure to jump on there to check out all our links, updated news, and of course our videos as well. So
get on, click like, and we'll like you. United's first game at Old Trafford was against Spurs, and it was a bit of a cagey, even affair in the first half, but then the youth of United came out in the second half and a 3-0 win without good enough to get the job done, and it was a very enjoyable second half. When you say, Nick?
Yeah, no, it was very good to see. I think we did control a fair bit of the football in the first half, and we should have, we would have expected to have maybe a lead coming into half time, but I think that our resilience showed through in the second half and our determination, and Harry Redknapp actually commented after the game saying that he thinks his players just ran out of legs, and I think that's an aspect of the youth that we have. They can go for longer, and obviously they can perform.
Yeah, it was an aspect of the youth and the fitness. United had a great pre-season preparation, obviously over there in America. They got great training facilities and etc. But Spurs were extremely disappointing. I thought they, at half time,
I think
they just completely lost legs, and it looked as if they hadn't had a pre-season at all. They just had no fitness.
And Rafael van der Vaart, I think, was particularly disappointing.
He was awful, yeah.
For me, he's a player I admire, and I think that it looks like he's read a bit into the De Gea issue, and he thought that any shot on target from 40 yards was going to go in, and he don't think he even got one of his shots from 40 yards on target, but he took too many of them. For me.
His attitude didn't seem good. He was always seemed just annoyed at everyone else and himself probably as well. One of the things I was happy with, that obviously it's been publicised, that there was probably a bit of a spray or hairdryer treatment from Fergie at half time, and most of the players that would have received that were young players that might not have really received one before, and they could have easily come out and played pretty dismally, heads down, but the way they responded was just outstanding.
That's right, yeah. As much as Spurs were bad was how good United were in the second half. Just the breakneck pace that they were able to continue at for the full 90 minutes is great to see, and obviously you get that with young legs. It was the second youngest ever United side, so that speaks for itself really, and the fitness levels, as we said, really paid off, and also the skill of the players to play at that pace, sort of 1 and 2 touch football was great to see.
What did you think of Phil Jones coming into the side for his first full game? And I thought it was a brilliant display.
Yeah, we'll talk a bit about the Red Talk Player of the Season
Best
later in the
all-round for
show,
you.
but yeah, I put down Phil Jones as my player of the match. I thought he was excellent. His ability to intercept balls, I think, is...
And his power in the
superb,
air
and
is something that a lot of young centre-backs don't have. You see Jonny Evans, Jonny Evans is a good centre-back, but he doesn't have quite as much power in the air as Phil
No,
Jones
he's a
does.
bit more lightweight, and also Jones's ability in the challenge,
Yeah.
his timing, and his technique is absolutely brilliant as well. And also coming up from the back, a good pass with the ball. I think that's an underrated part of his game, and can get forward, as can all that back four.
He just seems so composed, and you're watching him, and
You forget that
you
he's
can't
19.
believe he's 19. He just I look at him, and if he didn't look so young, you wouldn't be surprised someone goes, that guy's 26, 27, and he's had close to 10 years of Premier League experience. Just the way you don't feel nervous at all, like some of the younger centre backs, or like Jonny Evans a few years ago.
Yeah.
You don't feel at all nervous watching him.
Anderson is another player who's really started this season in superb fashion. I think we talked a bit about it before the start of the season, how this is his first full pre-season with United, and he himself said that you'll see the best of him this season because of that fact, after being interrupted with his injuries and other things previously. And I think he started in superb form, really, hasn't he? He's really showing us his full capability.
And also that goal scoring element that he missed, in his first, I think it was year and a half or whatever it was before he actually scored a goal. Might have even been 2 seasons. Yeah, but I think that his passing and his awareness on the ball, and I think when he's partnered with Cleverly, he seems to take on a bit more responsibility because he's the more experienced of those two. He seems to take it upon himself to play more composed and to pick his passes, and he doesn't, dilly-daddle around with the ball as much as he used to.
And I saw a stat recently that he's completed 99 passes, the most in the team, and he's attempted 109, so a very good pass completion rating. I think it was 93 in the first game and 88 in the second. So, and Cleverly's with similar numbers too. So when you've got two players with that sort of...
And the discussion pre-season is a lot of been around the replacement of Paul Scholes, and that was of course one of the big aspects of Paul's game, or Scholes' game, was the fact that he didn't give the ball away. When he picked a pass, it usually went where it was meant to go.
And also, one, not giving the ball away, and two, not passing it always sideways and backwards. Anderson, a lot of the time, most of the time, passes forwards, as does Cleverly. And that's been a bit of a criticism of Michael Carrick, that sure, he's got a fairly good pass completion rating.
He's almost too worried.
A lot of the time he's just passing it back to the centre-backs or sideways to the full-back. So that's another important element that Paul Scholes showed us, that Paul Scholes like passing ability.
Yeah.
That forward was pretty impressive in the second half. With some of the goals were just a joy to watch, really. Welbeck, it's his first goal for United in 2 years. He had been on loan for a season, but it was a great way to return, and he was revelation in the second half.
Yeah, you just saw his confidence just skyrocket after he scored that goal. First half, I thought wasn't brilliant. It was okay. I thought also in the first game against West Brom he wasn't outstanding, but once he scored that goal, you saw the confidence just flowing through him. He tried that overhead kick, of course, which was on target. And then he, of course, the back heel for Anderson's goal. It takes confidence to do something like that. So you really saw that with a young player, they just needed that moment of luck, maybe, and the confidence just...
I think that's maybe the reason that he was still in the squad after the West Brom game. I mean, he didn't have a shocking game, but it's the start of the season. You would expect maybe Fergie to mix the strikers around, especially having when you consider Tottenham's record at Old Trafford. But I think that's why Fergie's kept him in there, and you can see in the second half, of course, as you mentioned, that his confidence just grew and his performance was so much better. And also Tom Cleverly as well. I think he didn't have quite as good a first half as he would have liked against Tottenham, and then in the second half he came out and credit could have been because of that hair dry treatment that Fergie gave him, but he performed a lot better in that second half, and of course ended up with an assist.
Well, hair dry treatment helping United in the second half, and hair treatment in general helping Rooney's brilliant start to the season. So the hair all round, and Phil Jones even before the season start put a bit of blonde through it. Yeah. So doing a bit with the hair seems to work for United. So why stop, eh?
I'm Andy, and you're watching Red Talk.
General and the Chav.
Welcome to General Interviews. I'm the General.
And I'm the Chav.
This week a special edition of General and the Chav. our first ever interview. We've lined up a special.
We're sorry we couldn't get anyone United related, but we had to get Luis Suarez's family.
Yep, the
Now
Suarez
they've joined
family.
us off camera just over there, so we're just going to shoot a few questions at them.
That's right. I thought it was via video link to Uruguay, but anyway.
They're just sitting there. And
over here, we flew them in.
yeah.
No expense spared.
No
so,
expense.
first question.
First question: did you catch Liverpool's first game of the season, and were you very impressed with your son's dismal performance? Well, very interesting. Secondly, what we want to know is Luis Suarez, his ears, what's going on there, and did you use them to fund the rest of Dirk Coutts' pixie ears?
Looks like a bit of inbreeding, perhaps, in the
it's a
Suarez
bit of-
family, resulting in weird ears.
There's a distinct lack of lobe, which we're a bit disturbed by. But
Definitely. Thirdly, what about Louis' penalty taking technique? Who taught him that?
Mr. Suarez, don't be so modest. I know you've been in the field with him, kicking those little acorns, but that's a different story for a different day.
It is. What about being dropped to the bench for the second game, though? That was a bit harsh, I thought. They seemed to have some rather burly woman up front in his place who didn't appear to know how to play football. So,
Yeah, not at all.
what's the thoughts on that?
Mrs. Suarez, don't... No, put him away. Alright, yep, I don't think they want to say much more.
I think we've lost the link there with the Suarez family.
They've left the room, remember, they're here, so we flew them in.
They ran out or something,
Yeah.
the window. Okay, so that's got to conclude the first ever general interviews. I guess we'll see you next week, maybe, or we might be dropped again, I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
With title 19 in the bag, the United players are probably resting on their laurels a bit. They needed something to get them motivated to perform this year, so we've come up with something to help them, haven't we, Josh?
That's right, the Red Talk Player of the Year, the most prestigious award in football. Individual honour is going to be handed out. Basically,
How does it work?
Well, basically, us 5 Red Talkers, us 3 and the 2 missing links, put in our 3-2-1 votes every week. Sometimes one of us might miss the game, of course, or a couple of us, and then if
Throw
that
it
is
over
the
to
case,
you.
you throw it over to the fans. That's right, with our weekly player of the match poll.
So it'll be on Facebook, so you might see it on Twitter if you have the feed on there, but you got to head over to Facebook, one of those fancy question things, and just
That's right.
select the player you thought was best, and that'll make up the other 1 or 2 3-2-1s that we haven't managed to do.
Exactly. So far, Wayne Rooney sitting on top, a single vote ahead of Ashley Young. Then we've got Anderson and Welbeck running at the top 4, and Young, man of the match against West Brom, and Welbeck, man of the match against Spurs.
Yeah, I think I gave Young man of the match for me in both of them, actually.
Young actually got was only 1 point off the maximum amount in the first game, so obviously we all rated his debut performance very highly indeed.
Except for Will.
Except for Will, yes.
Will, of course.
So is Wayne Rooney.
Hard to imagine, hard to imagine. It's yeah, that's what's going to unfold. An extra thing we're doing this year that we didn't do last year, so that's something to keep an eye out, and we'll let you know on Facebook and on the show, our votes for each week. And yeah, obviously when we haven't managed to catch a game, we'll throw it over to you, so make sure you have a think while you're watching the game at who's best. Now we're going to have a look at the new signings and how they're faring so far this season. We'll start with the man in the headlines, David De Gea, and how he's gone in the first 2 games. Josh?
Yeah, I think he's played quite well generally. He's probably made one mistake in every game so far. But with a 20-year-old keeper, you're going to get that from time to time. I think crosses is probably his main issue.
Yep.
Not particularly strong on those, but once he gets used to playing in England, gets a bit of experience under his belt, gets on the United Weights program, it's just a different style of play that he's not used to. But with time, he's going to get used to that. The other issue, of course, is language, but apparently he's picking up on English pretty
Daily
quickly.
lessons, I think.
Yeah, he's been on lessons for a couple
He's
of
only
months.
young, so it should be easier for him to
That's
learn
right,
than
that's
if
right.
you know you get a 35-year-old keeper come in who doesn't speak English. I've been particularly impressed with his distribution, and people said it's like Van der Sar, but I think it's a little bit different. It doesn't seem the same for me, but just some of the on kicks and you get the ball passed back to him straight away. He sees a good option, and when he's doing that, yeah, he's got a good arm on him for sure. For someone who is so spindly. But
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. I think that he has only made one or two mistakes each game, and it's just been unfortunate for him that those mistakes have cost a goal.
Yeah, well, when you're a goalkeeper, if you make a mistake most of the time.
You saw against Tottenham when Defoe hit the post when he went in for that cross, which of course is one of his difficulties. That's a mistake, and on another day it could have cost a goal. Obviously, the post so it wasn't too far off, but he's going to have a few of those mistakes being his age.
One particularly impressive thing I thought in the Spurs game was his ability to catch saves. It seems as if every shot Spurs have, he held onto it, which is a great thing to be able to do. Obviously, cuts out the option of a rebound if the striker's coming in. So that's a very impressive thing I thought, and some particularly hard shots as well, just stuck in his gloves. So good to see.
And he would have had a nervous week. Even if most of the headlines were in English, obviously people coming out.
Lucky that you can't read them.
Yeah, people coming out saying, from Spurs saying we're going to have a shot at him because he's going to be nervous. But the way he responded was brilliant. And I think the age is one thing, but also the nerves of coming to a club like United. It's got to be, you couple that together, and it's got to be just immense pressure on him. But the way some of the saves he's made, they've just been really outshadowed by the fact that he has made those couple of mistakes. But I think some of his saves have been really top quality. Touched on Phil Jones earlier in the show, in the review of the earlier games, and that he's started his United career in brilliant fashion. Hasn't really made any big mistakes, and he's just been a bit of a rock at the back, and he's going to have to be for the next couple of weeks, probably with the injuries.
Yeah, well, Rio should be back next week, but he's obviously pushing for that place alongside him. I think it was more impressive than Jonny Evans, who started the season ahead of him in the pecking order, but probably based on the Spurs performance, I think he'd probably go with Jones in the next one against Arsenal. So yeah, he's been very impressive.
Ashley Young was the big money signing of the summer, and he's obviously biggest or second biggest.
Yeah, I think they're all
about the same.
About the same, those two, and it was pretty expensive. But there were questions how he'd fit in at United, and he's hit the ground running and just been sensational. And prestigiously taken the 3 votes off me in the first 2 games, so that's probably hopefully won't go straight to his head.
Yeah, I think he's so dynamic that he fits into our midfield well. He's almost not a clone of Nani, but he's very similar to Nani in some of the way he plays. He does have a left foot, which a lot of right wingers or left wingers, whichever category you put him in, they don't have, and the opposite foot. They're not 2-footed, and that's obviously a big part of Nani's game. He's probably more so left-footed than Young is, but Young also has that ability.
Yeah, I think Young's probably more of a provider than Nani is. Nani probably looks to go more direct. He's more of a forward, really, than a winger at times. And Young really is an out-and-out winger, looking to get in a lot of crosses. And I think he's fit in really well to the passing game of United as well, linking up with the midfielders Anderson, Cleverley, Rooney dropping back, etc. So that's been impressive. And also his ability to work with, and his willingness to work with the team. Track back and help out Patrice Evra or Fabio at left back has been impressive as well. I think at Villa, some of the time he didn't do that at all, and that was obviously down to him having a free role there. Some people labelled him as lazy, but obviously he has the ability to track back. He just that wasn't his role at Villa, but he has the ability to do that, and I think that's been very impressive and important.
It's that time in the episode where we addressed the quiz question from earlier in the show, and that quiz question was, Nicholas?
We wanted to know which 3 men were immortalised in the form of a statue outside Old Trafford, and I think Josh might have the answer.
Sure do. George Best, of course, the famous dancer Bobby Charlton, and Dennis Law.
There you go, they're the 3 men, and thanks to Jason Burns for submitting that quiz question, so we didn't have to strain the old brain to think of one.
That's right.
That's the show for this week, so thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Red Talk.
I've been out all night and I'm feeling down. I've been out all night and I'm kicking around.
Alright, who's the goals in Spurs game? Welbeck, Rooney, and Anderson. Yeah, sweet.
Not in that order.
Welbeck, Anderson, and Rooney.
It was more like this.
That's so funny.
Went down.
Baby.